Today is 15th July 2024. Most of you didn't know that Rwanda is going under elections where they have to choose their leader for the next 7 years. And that is it. We all know that Mr. Paul Kagame, the current president of Rwanda, is going to win these elections. In essence, is going to be the first president of Rwanda to rule for 30 years. And we believe even after the 30 years, he will come back to ask for another term. But does he ask for the term? He will grab another term. 30 years he will be making. The next generation of Rwanda will have a president with his rule older than their years. And this generation is going to have another generation being born. And that generation, I mean the children who were born when Mr. Paul Kagame took over power. Let's say they are now 23, let's say. They are eligible fathers and mothers in Rwanda right now. But what is Rwanda? Rwanda is a country that has faced problems after the Belgian rule. You have France coming in to intermeddle the politics of Rwanda. You have the Rwandese who left Rwanda in the year 1929. They entered Uganda. And some of them are believed to be one, the parent of the current president of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. You have some who left in the year 1959 when they were preparing to go for their independence. Some of them. There was between Grigori Kayibanda and Habyarimana. Then you have those who entered Uganda or who left Rwanda. And by the way, the ones who left Rwanda in those years of 1950 something, the generation of Mr. Paul Kagame. Now you have those who entered Uganda or who left Rwanda during the 1994 genocide. So that's the history of a small country called Rwanda. Today, its leader has made efforts to develop it, but those efforts have been made at the cost of human rights, have been made at the cost of freedom of speech, freedom of exercising a right to practice politics in your own country. Those developments have been made at the cost of extrajudicial executions done by President Paul Kagame against his opposers, both within Rwanda and those who live in exile. We've had those who were executed in South Africa and the attempted executions made in UK. We have had all of that. But why is he doing this? Because he wants to remain in power. He made his son to be his bodyguard, took him in military schools, just like his elder brother, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, has done. Now today in Uganda, you have the first son as the Chief of Defense Forces in Uganda. Museveni, many say is a Tutsi, but he says is a Mhima from Ankole. But what is the difference between the Tutsi and the Hima of Ankole? They all have the same characters. We've heard his son writing recklessly on his X account the glory of the Bachwezi. Mind you, he's saying the Hima and the Tutsi people. But away from that, you organize an election. You force people to go to vote you. You celebrate the voting. You claim to be the overruler, the overseer of everything in Rwanda. The judiciary, you intermingle with it. The legislature, you have the majority of it, because people are voting not out of love but out of fear. Same thing in Uganda. You see, you say you are developing Rwanda. There's no leader on the African continent who developed a country like Colonel Muammar Gaddafi did in Libya. Libyans had the good life, but they had no freedom of speech, freedom of practicing politics. They had no that. It ended up into an outburst. Now look, Libya is now part of the failed states like Somalia. Sorry to say that, Somalis, but it's a failed state. You know that. Just, you see what is happening in Sudan. Okay, let me add Northern Sudan. Because they were greedy for power. Your elder, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, once said that the Africa's problem is leaders who overstay, is doing what he was against. You are doing what you fought against in Uganda before you went to Rwanda, because you were part of the NRA rebels. You were even the high officer at Makindye Barracks, where I grew up from, by the way. So, what is it that you want to do for Rwanda that another person with a greater vision for a country can't do? What do you want to do that you don't want term limits to be implemented? Once you go down, even the developments you are trying to say that you've done and to show the world that you've done this, to brag around against the Western countries that they can't teach you democracy, let me tell you, we'll go down with you. You don't want people to talk about their tribes because you say it led to a genocide. But if you cannot heal, if you don't want to talk about your history, that's the thing. You prevent people from talking. You've done extrajudicial killings against people within Rwanda and outside Rwanda. For example, in South Africa, even those attempts of you did in UK, just to please yourself. Please.